Every so often, it's a good idea to do something for the sake of your mental health. You might get a good night's sleep, take a yoga class, improve your diet, or you might even leave a job or end a toxic relationship. Now, in doing something for the sake of your mental health, you're not necessarily trying to avoid mental illness. Instead, you can often imagine yourself as aiming for a certain positive state, the state of being mentally healthy. But what is that state? Kia ora. I'm Simon Keller, a professor in philosophy at Te Herenga Waka, Victoria, University of Wellington. In this 5-minute taster lecture, we're going to take a look at the philosophy of mental health. For all the money, time and effort we put into promoting mental health, do we really know what mental health is? As it turns out, people of different academic disciplines, different parts of government, different cultures, different times and places have very, very different visions of the healthy mind. In our contemporary discussion of mental health, we tend to be torn between two conflicting impulses. On the one hand, there's the impulse to identify mental health with well-being. And the idea here is that you're mentally healthy when you're happy, when you're calm, when you have a sense of balance and perspective in your life, when things are pretty much going the way that you would like them to go. The other impulse is to make mental health more of a medical notion. And the idea here is that your mind is healthy when your mind, or all the different parts of it, are functioning in the way that they were intended to function. In the same way that a healthy heart is a heart that performs its function, that does a really good job of pumping blood around the body, because that's what hearts are for, you might think that a mind is healthy when it does whatever it is that minds are for. I'm sure you've had people tell you that if you could live more naturally, if you could allow your mind to get into its natural state, then you will be happier. We often think that achieving mental health is a matter of getting rid of toxins or distractions or the complications of modern life and living naturally. But you should not expect that if you can live naturally, then you will be happy. There is no good reason to think that the natural state of the human mind is a state of well-being. There's no good reason to think that we were designed by evolution or anything else to be happy. How can we make progress in achieving a better understanding of mental health? Well, I think a good place to start is to notice that the language and the concepts that we use when we talk about mental health are very different from the ones we use when we talk about the health of the body. Your leg might have a health problem. It might be sore, or it might be infected or broken. But when we talk about you having a health problem in the mind, with your emotions or your beliefs or your memories or your appetites, we use very different language. We might say that your beliefs are false, or that your ways of forming beliefs are unjustified. We might say that your emotions are irrational or unwarranted, that your moods or your behaviours or your feelings or your appetites are inappropriate. But when we talk about what's right and wrong, what's correct and incorrect, what's warranted and unwarranted, appropriate or inappropriate, what we're really talking about is how a human ought to live. We're talking about how a human ought to think, how they ought to interrelate with the world, how they ought to form relationships, what they ought to aim for, what kinds of values they ought to have. And those are all ethical questions. The question of what makes for mental health simply cannot be extracted from the deeper, most puzzling philosophical question, how should a human live? So understanding mental health, yes, it's partly a matter of psychology, of medicine, of understanding the brain, of understanding science. But at an even deeper level, it's a matter of understanding ethics, understanding the human condition and how it is that we ought to conduct our lives. If you're interested in shaping the future of our understanding of mental health, or of any of the other big questions about human life, study for a Bachelor of Arts at Victoria, University of Wellington.